There we go. And now we are officially beginning the Climate Careers Chat. Woo! And Rohan, would you like to take it away on our next slide with the agenda?
Yes, hello everyone. Here is a brief overview of our agenda today for our Climate Careers Chat. We're going to introduce ourselves and our team first, and then we'll start off with panelist Tyla Brown's presentation, followed by a quick informational break where you guys, the audience, can stretch your legs and grab a snack. And then we'll hear the presentation from panelist Emily Alvarez, and finally finish our program with our popular Q&A session and some final closing statements. Take it away, Rachel.
All right. On the next slide, there we go, Allison. Allison is handling the slides for us today like a champ. Oh yeah. I would like to welcome all of you to the Climate Careers Chats and show you our sponsors for tonight. We have Sustainable Leaders in Action, the Contra Costa County Libraries, and Sustainable Contra Costa. It's through these three organizations that we're able to come together and make this webinar possible. So thank you. And I would like to introduce some people from these lovely organizations to introduce themselves. So I'll hand the floor over now to Allison, our chair for Sustainable Leaders in Action.
Hi, everybody. The Climate Careers Chat are interactive quarterly events that feature professionals from green-related careers. SLIA participates in every step of planning and putting on these events, from finding panelists and making promotional materials to even emceeing the event. But you'll hear more about SLIA during our break.
Thank you, Allison. Now we're going to hear from someone from Sustainable Contra Costa, Ellie.
Hi, everyone. My name's Eliana, and like Rachel said, I work with Sustainable Contra Costa as the SLIA advisor. Sustainable Contra Costa is a community of citizens, educators, innovators, and organizations working together for ecologically sustainable, economically vibrant, and socially just communities for all.
Thank you, Ellie. And now from our amazing graphic design intern, Karina.
Hi, everyone. My name is Karina Chen, and I am the graphic design intern for SLIA. The other SLIA members and I have created these slides for you tonight, so we hope that you enjoy them. I'm honored to be here tonight, and I hope everyone gets to learn a little and have fun. Thank you.
All right, and hi everybody, my name is Rachel Kimball, and I am one of your co-moderators tonight. I'm a rising senior at Carondelet High School. I am a volunteer with Sustainable Leaders in Action, and in my free time, I love baking and science. Now, I want to welcome our other co-moderator, Rohan.
Hello everyone, my name is Rohan Tyagi. I'm a rising junior at Heritage High School, and I've been a member and now intern of SLIA for around a year. I joined SLIA because of the climate rally last March, and I enjoy all forms of environmental policy and earth science. Now, for a special welcome to our co-host for this event, the Contra Costa County Library. Let's give some claps for them in the chat. Here representing them tonight is our fabulous librarian, Albert. He will talk to us a little bit about the library.
Thank you very much. My name is Albert Garcia, and I'm a librarian with Contra Costa County, and I work with adult services. And the Contra Costa County Library is happy to connect you with our resources, services, and materials at all 26 of our libraries. Access more than 1 million physical items, including international language collections, and thousands of digital materials 24/7 at ccclib.org. Visit any library to use our public computers, printers, and free Wi-Fi. You can also visit one of our branches with laptops for on-site use, or check out a Wi-Fi hotspot for 3 weeks. Contra Costa County Library's adult literacy program trains and supports volunteer tutors to deliver basic literacy instruction to adults throughout the county. Visit our website and sign up for a digital library card today. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Albert. And on to the very next slide. We would like to introduce to you, drum roll please, Tyla Brown and Emily Alvarez as our two panelists for this evening. We are very excited to have the both of them, and we are extremely excited for you guys to hear about them. First, we are going to get to know one of our panelists with a 2 truths and a lie. This is an awesome Climate Careers Chat tradition, and I'm very excited for Tyla to read out her 2 truths and a lie on the next slide. All right, take it away, Tyla.
Thank you so much for the warm introduction, Rachel. So hi, everyone. I'm Tyla, and let's talk about my 2 truths and a lie. So tell me, which one do you think is a lie? I was featured in a Nickelodeon commercial in middle school. I have a 12-year-old Shih Tzu, and I've lived in 5 cities. Which one is a lie? We need our Jeopardy music. Excited to see what everyone says.
These are all really interesting.
All right,
Yeah.
everyone, we want to hear your responses, so we'll give you a couple more seconds for everyone else to get their answers in.
I don't know, Tyla. A 12-year-old Shih Tzu is like very specific.
Ooh, okay. All right. So the lie is I've lived in 5 cities. I've only lived in 4 cities. I do have a 12-year-old Shih Tzu. If you hear any snoring during my presentation, it's him. Thank you for participating.
Well, that was a great one. You were in a Nickelodeon commercial in middle school?
I'm free to answer any questions during the Q&A.
I will definitely be asking you about that in the Q&A. All right. Now, let's get to know our first panelist, Tyla Brown, with her presentation.
All righty. Thank you for the thumbs up. So I am so excited to be here this evening. Thank you to the Sustainable Leaders in Action, Sustainable Contra Costa, and the Contra Costa Public Library for having me today. My name is Tyla Brown, and I am the Partnerships Development Manager at MCE. I'm excited to share a little bit about my experience in my current role and some of the formative experiences that led me to MCE. So if you don't know, MCE is a community choice provider. Sometimes you'll hear us refer to as a community choice aggregation program or a CCA. Community choice was enabled in 2002 through Assembly Bill 117. The purpose of this legislation was to give Californians a choice of where their electricity is coming from. Prior to programs like MCE, you only had one choice. In the Bay Area, that's PG&E. Since MCE launched, this model has been extremely successful. There are now over 25 community choice programs serving 11 million customers throughout the state, while providing clean energy jobs and reducing greenhouse gas emissions. It's also important to note that MCE is a not-for-profit public agency. So I don't work for a private corporation, but for a government agency. MCE's board consists of elected officials that direct MCE's programs, policies, and even set rates with their community needs at the center. So MCE contributes to the circular economy by supplying renewable energy to customers throughout our service area. We offer 2 energy products. Our light green service is 60% renewable from bioenergy, geothermal, small hydro, solar, and wind resources. We also have a deep green product, which is 100% renewable from solar and wind. I like to think of us as trailblazers in the circular economy. When MCE launched in 2010, our light green service was 27% renewable, and PG&E's 12% renewable. Over time, as MCE's renewable energy content has gone up, PG&E's has as well. As more community choice programs come online, we are replacing old contracts for fossil fuel-based resources and creating a cleaner energy grid and a demand for an economy built around renewables. Another key piece to our circular model is our reinvestment back into the community. A percentage of electric generation charges goes back into the community in the form of various services and programs such as energy efficiency incentives, rebates for purchase electric vehicles, and various energy resiliency programs. We've reinvested $214 million in MCE communities since 2010 and have committed $2.4 billion in renewable projects. So who am I? I'm on the public affairs team at MCE, which includes departments such as marketing and communications. At a high level, our role is to increase awareness about MCE and generate interest in MCE's programs and services. In climate action, this is a pivotal role because it takes everyone being a part of this work, not just the few who know and understand sustainability. We help educate and inform the public about ways that we can be more sustainable. One of the ways that I bring awareness is by attending community events such as this Earth Day event, where you see me here, where I answered customers' questions about their bills and made Earth Day bracelets with younger customers. Another way that I bring awareness is by partnering with our marketing and communications team to develop social media materials and tools. On the blog seen at the bottom, I helped write a blog about no-cost EV charging that is available on our website. I also develop and host webinars to educate customers about MCE and various clean energy concepts. Doesn't look like I'm enjoying it in this picture, but these webinars are available on our YouTube and help simplify and bring awareness to complex concepts around renewable energy. So what's unique about my role on the public affairs team is that I'm responsible for increasing awareness about MCE services and programs, specifically for communities who live in the most polluted environments, helping advance our mission of building equitable communities. Equity means creating, supporting, and sustaining social systems that allow those with the most need access to opportunity, networks, and resources to enjoy full, healthy lives. This is important in climate action because historically, people who live in the most polluted environments are most often people of color with low income. And often, these are the people who are excluded from conversations and solutions to climate action. MCE has been committed to energy equity since our inception, working with our communities to advance equity through our programs and services. Supporting our communities means taking a holistic look at how we can best support those who are most impacted or disadvantaged by present and future damages caused by climate change and fossil fuels. So what does this look like on a day-to-day for me? Well, first, I support electrification efforts in low-income communities. E-mobility options such as e-bikes and EV charging greatly reduce greenhouse gas emissions. But because they are expensive and EV charging is not readily available, people are left out of this opportunity. When MCE received a grant to offer no-cost EV charging installation at affordable houses throughout Marin County, I was responsible for informing the community about this opportunity so that they could take advantage. Through my outreach and engagement strategy, 30 properties will now install EV charging stations. Secondly, I build relationships with community organizations to help us understand our communities and their needs. I organize our Community Power Coalition, which is a quarterly meeting with sustainability, environmental justice, and social justice boards throughout our service area to get their input on new programs and policies. Thirdly, this is my favorite part, I sponsor and attend fundraising events for equity-based organizations. Each year, our team supports over 100 organizations through our sponsorship dollars. And lastly, I look for opportunities to connect low-income people of color with jobs in the green workforce. Through my stakeholder engagement efforts, we have been able to secure training for 15 people to learn about green workforce studies. So what led me to this work? Well, I grew up in Oakland in the early 2000s, where gun violence was a big part of everyday life. And I lost a friend to gun violence in the 6th grade. One of my mentors at the time decided to take me and a few of my friends to the Yosemite backcountry, where we backpacked for 8 days. There, I gained a greater awareness and appreciation for the natural, physical living environment. I felt a sense of peace that I didn't feel at home. I was angry that I had to travel miles away to experience beauty and peace. I desired to bring that back to my community. So after that experience, I wanted to find ways to make Oakland beautiful. A few of my friends organized a local park cleanup and park construction project. We developed a proposal to build basketball courts at our local park in the hopes that it would make the park beautiful and honestly give people in my community something to do. A local council member, who I'm still in contact with today, listened to us and funded the project. This was my first taste of advocacy in government affairs. From there, I participated in youth in government and as opinion staff in my school newspaper, where I learned how to advocate for others in the government, as well as through public speaking and written communications. In high school, I also worked as a tutor and Model United Nations instructor after school, where I honed my passion for working directly in the community and educating others. I taught sixth graders as a ninth grader at the time, and I was amazed at their opinions and their perspectives as 12-year-olds. While I was learning through youth in government and the newspaper how to advocate for others, my direct work with these sixth graders gave me my first taste of equity. I learned how important it was to listen and make space for others so that they can speak for themselves. So surprise, surprise, I studied political science, who would have thought? And when I applied for school and wanted to study political science, I wanted to gain technical knowledge about how to leverage government resources to improve people's living environments. I wanted to do what I did at that park, but on a larger scale for more people. I was the first in my family to attend college, so I largely navigated this new and strange higher education system alone, and I dropped out after my first year. Attending community college, I put merit college there because that was one of the most pivotal experiences that I had to reinvigorate my interest. I was able to study abroad in Belize while there and travel to Africa, and that really reinvigorated my interest in college. When I did attend SF State, so that's where I graduated, it's my alma mater, one of the most impactful courses that I took was called Politics, Law, and the Urban Environment. And there I learned that true change requires solutions that challenge the norm, solutions that most people think will never happen. Thinking back about this, it's not strange that I ended up at an organization that upended the energy economy, forcing traditional energy companies to rethink their reliance on fossil fuels. So as you can see here, after I graduated college, my first 3 roles were not in renewable energy or sustainability. However, I gained skills that are an asset to my organization now. In my first year as a college and career advisor, I worked primarily with students and families who spoke limited English, and as first-generation students had little knowledge of the higher education and financial aid system. I learned how to simplify complex concepts so it is accessible for everyone. I did a lot of public speaking here and a lot of one-on-one communications, which prepared me for the public speaking that I do now in my current role. Because I work with a specific group of people who were systemically disadvantaged by the education system, I was able to learn how to use equitable practices such as developing community needs assessments and language translations. These are skills that I use in my role today. I was promoted from that position to an associate director, where I gained strong project management skills to execute multiple priorities at a time. In this role, I learned things like how to manage $1 million budget and a team of interns and staff. I often went to DC, as you see in this picture here in front of Kamala Harris, and she's still a senator, and to advocate for funding for our program. I gained major political advocacy skills, similar to what I learned in government in high school, but in real time. As a community partnerships analyst, my third job, I was the face of the school district for over 700 community partners. I don't even work with that many community partners today. Couldn't imagine doing that now. But that was a really important position because many of the skills I learned here, such as developing workshops, is what I use to facilitate our Community Power Coalition meetings. When a position at MCE opened, one of my colleagues within my network thought that I would be a good fit for the role. I didn't know about MCE. It wasn't a part of my network after being in education for a while. But I'll talk about the importance of building a network across. And I'm thankful for my friend for introducing me to the opportunity. When I applied for what was a community development manager role, they decided to create a new position just for me because they saw the value that I could bring to our vision of building equitable communities. When I was promoted in March to Partnerships Development Manager, that role again was created just for me and the specific skill set that I bring to our organization. So as you can see from my career path, there is not always a linear career path. I didn't get my first sustainability job until I was 30 years old. I try to think of myself as a pioneer in my own journey that will hopefully inspire others with similar backgrounds and experiences as my own. There are specific things that you can do to align yourself for a career in public affairs and community engagement in renewable energy. The first is to find ways to work directly in your community, whether it's at school, your local community, or even an online community. About 70 to 80% of our work is in the community, so any experience showing that you have an interest and expertise engaging community partners is a plus. I would also encourage that you learn about different groups and incorporate equity into every part of your work. I'm a firm believer that climate action requires everyone to be involved. If possible, take advantage of travel and study abroad opportunities like I do. Because of my experience working with low-income communities of color, I am seen as a thought partner and expert at my organization, even with little sustainability experience. So I have learned so much since I began here. If you have experience working with rural communities or monolingual and bilingual communities, this is a value add to organizations that need to develop partnerships in those communities. You will have to communicate with the public often, so working on public speaking and written communication is key. I took public speaking and grant writing classes in college. Lastly, everyone will say this at every career panel, will participate in internship and fellowship opportunities. What I will say is that usually interns focus on building connections to leadership positions. I encourage you to do something called networking across, and that's building networks within your peer group. Actress Issa Rae said, effective networking starts with people around you, not above you. And I think about my friend who introduced me to MCE and the possibilities here and saw that the possibilities in me. And I'm here today because of her and her advocating for me. So thank you so much for taking the time to learn about me and about MCE. I am happy to answer your questions after the next presentation. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Tyla. That was incredible. I love that, like, you are so valuable and your experience is so valuable. They made a position for you. They're like, we're going to get you in here. That's incredible.
Thank you so much.
Okay, now we will be taking a little break to give you all a chance to learn about SLIA and Sustainable Contra Costa's very own Contra Costa Challenge.
All right. This Climate Careers Chat is brought to you by SLIA, aka Sustainable Leaders in Action. We are the Sustainable Contra Costa youth-led team, and we consist of high school and college-age students who are passionate about the environment. SLIA has many projects that we work on, including graphic design, fundraising, our bi-monthly newsletter, Actions of the Month from the Cleaner Contra Costa Challenge, and our policy and advocacy team. If you're interested in SLIA or want to learn more, you can email SLIA at sustainablecoco.org or visit our link tree. Thank you.
Awesome. So like Karina and Rachel mentioned, Sustainable Contra Costa's main project is the Cleaner Contra Costa Challenge. This is a free online platform with over 80 actions that promote sustainable practices, establishing sustainable practices in your homes. These are the categories on the platform, which include being energy smart, additionally having a clean energy home, shifting your ride, reducing food waste, being water wise, and then the platform also has awesome categories that are dedicated to community and learning and resilience in the face of extreme weather events. Next slide, please. Okay, so each of the actions on the platform include how-to guides and location-based resources, which you tell the platform when you're signing up, which only takes a minute, by the way. So the action that we were looking at here is a home energy checkup, and then you have the different steps, which are find an energy analyst and schedule your home checkup. And then it also explains what to expect. And then you review the results with your energy analyst, and then you schedule your upgrades accordingly. To the right, you can see some of the different resources that are attached to this action, such as the Bay Run program, the switches on, and a lot of other programs, rebates, and resources for everyone across Contra Costa County.
Hello, everyone. Now we are going to hear from our second panelist, Emily Alvarez, a program manager at StopWaste. Emily's going to read her fun facts out to you guys, and you know the drill. You can go ahead and complete the Zoom poll for our next round of 2 truths and a lie. Emily, take it away.
Hello, everyone. My name's Emily Alvarez. Let's see if you can figure out what my lie is. So I was born and raised in the Bay Area. I have been bowling in the White House, and I took 4 years of Russian in high school.
If the bowling in the White House is true, that is truly a crazy event. Like, I'm not sure how one would bowl in the White House.
Okay, so we're waiting for about 3 more responses. So far, everyone believes that Emily has in fact been bowling in the White House. Oh, we have one person who's not sure now. All right. Okay, Emily, do you want to tell us the answer?
Sure. I was born and raised in New York City, not the Bay Area. So I have lived in Oakland for the past 10 years now. It goes fast. So I have been bowling in the White House. Before moving out here, I worked in Washington, D.C. There's a bowling alley in the basement of the White House. And if you know someone who works in the presidential administration, they can get you in.
Wow.
Yeah, we did it for a friend's birthday one year. And yeah, I went to a math, science, and engineering high school that only offered Russian. So not that useful nowadays, but it was fun at the time.
Oh, out of curiosity, was it Staten Island?
Yes,
That's so cool. I have a friend who gets the same.
Good old Staten Island Technical High School.
Amazing. Okay. I guess, Allison, we can move on to the next slide. Now let's get to know our second panelist, Emily Alvarez.
Okay. Go. So I guess a little bit about me, since we started with the 2 truths and a lie, and it's always fun to just get to know each other. So yes, I was born and raised in New York, not Oakland. Staten Island, where now I guess our current claim to fame is Pete Davidson, if you know who that is. But I have been in the Bay Area for 10 years. I'm a big outdoors person, and it definitely shaped my career path, similar to Tyla. Growing up in the city, we definitely would spend as much time as we could kind of getting out and going camping and hiking, and I still love all of those things. And I was also just really impacted by the way that my neighborhood that I grew up in was kind of changing and developing. And being on Staten Island, it happened when I was in college already, but Hurricane Sandy was pretty devastating to New York City. And that was actually kind of an influence in shifting my career towards more climate policy. So I'll talk more about that later, but definitely influenced by my surroundings. In 2016, my husband and I bought a very small house in Oakland that needed a ton of work and have been trying to kind of do a sustainable renovation and a lot of DIY the best we can. So this is our house at the bottom with our kind of native and drought tolerant garden that I planted during the pandemic. There used to be just grass there. I think it looks a lot better. And so really just pointing this stuff out again to say that this is really a passion as well as my career. And so I'm lucky I get to do both. So who is StopWaste? We are an Alameda County public agency. We're unique in that we're somewhat similar actually to how MCE works. We're kind of a coalition of all of the cities in Alameda County and the incorporated county. We act as sort of a Department of Environment. We've been around since the 70s, basically when the state started passing laws saying that you had to divert a certain amount of solid waste from landfill. The cities in Alameda County decided that was a regional issue and not necessarily something that could be solved one city at a time with the way that our waste system works. And so they made StopWaste and have kind of added additional programs and responsibilities onto us since then. So now we have a whole lot of programs that still deal with waste, waste management, composting, food waste reduction, drought tolerant landscaping. We have a schools program, and then kind of our most recent efforts, which really started more in like the 2010s, was on building energy efficiency and sustainable and low carbon building materials and the circular economy. Since that's kind of our theme, I know these are going to be all like really wonky graphics, but I'm going to do my best to kind of explain them. So what is the circular economy? We mostly live in like a linear economy. So we kind of like make waste is kind of the phrase they use. We buy a single-use coffee cup, we use it, we throw it out. A line from the time that cup was produced to where it ended up in the landfill. And that's not great, right? Because then that's how we get so much stuff in our landfills. It's also kind of a waste of materials and greenhouse gas emissions and all of these other things. And so what we're trying to really do is kind of close this loop where we look at we reduce as much as we can our waste, but then we really pay attention to where we can return things back into the economy. And that can be kind of a physical material, whether we repair something that was broken instead of throwing out, we recycle it, we reuse it. But also it means reinvesting in our communities, because if we are kind of reusing or repairing things, then that can create jobs, that can create local jobs so that we aren't sending things again, kind of all over the world to be disposed of. And so it's really hopefully something that we'll get closer and closer towards as more people get involved in sustainable careers. So again, this is really just, why does it matter? Kind of as we said, we think of recycling as like one of the major things that we could do to reduce our greenhouse gas reductions. But the potential greenhouse gas reductions of recycling are the green bars, versus if we actually just didn't produce that thing in the first place, like a plastic bottle, we could save so many more greenhouse gas emissions. And so again, it's really just about changing the mindset we've had in sustainability. Even though recycling, again, can be part of the circular economy, we want to really think bigger and beyond it, because there's a lot more potential out there. And similarly, a lot of our jurisdictions do greenhouse gas emissions inventories, but we kind of just pay attention to these kind of ones on the left that are emissions from energy use. So burning fossil fuels, driving cars, heating our buildings. but there's so many other kind of, again, greenhouse gas emissions that come from materials. So it said that about 50% of the greenhouse gas emissions from a building happen before anyone even occupies that building, because it's from the construction of it. You know, that involves a ton of fossil fuels to kind of fuel construction equipment. There's also all of the emissions that went into the steel or the concrete of that building, the food we eat, the agricultural system. And so we're really just starting to, like, you know, chip away at figuring out how we actually measure these things, but at least we're talking about it more instead of just saying, well, this is how much we burn for fossil fuels in our cars. We're getting way up the kind of chain of where these emissions really come from and what the greenhouse gas reduction potential is. So why we should care about the circular economy, hopefully not too technical, but happy to answer other questions. So what do I do at StopWaste? I've been there for about 4.5 years. I would say that if I was going to give you like a one sentence of what I do there, most of my work is focused on how to make our homes more energy efficient and move away from fossil fuel consumption. So that's switching from natural gas appliances to high efficiency electric appliances, but also making those homes a lot more kind of healthy, better for indoor air quality, using less energy overall. And so I do a lot of that through the Bay Area Regional Energy Network, or BayREN. It's a local government collaboration across the whole Bay Area where we get funding from the state to have a bunch of different energy efficiency programs. We have a bunch of stuff that is single, like rebates that people can get for having their homes upgraded. We also do a lot of work in advocacy for the codes, for the building code and energy code. And we do things, the green labeling program, which I'm the lead of, works to get more energy audits done in homes. So again, really just trying to get people to understand the energy consumption of their homes and help them make upgrades the best that we can. But then in case anyone is also interested in things related to city planning, a common role in local government is that you can wear a lot of hats. And so I also am our agency's planning lead. So that basically means that the state has a bunch of these things that they say we have to do, a lot of regulations, and those sorts of regulatory documents and environmental review are my responsibility. So, you know, recently the state passed a law that said that we have to divert a minimum amount of compost or compostable materials from landfill. So that's one thing we've been spending a lot of time on, is figuring out how to get all that food and other sort of green waste out of landfills, because it's surprising how many people throw that stuff out when we can be composting it. I was recently in Seattle at a compost facility, and that's where that picture on the top right comes from. Those are a bunch of bald eagles on like top of a pile of compost, which I just thought was very bizarre. There were like 50 bald eagles at this compost facility. Like I said, most of our jurisdictions have climate action plans. We'll support them with that. And again, working towards figuring out how we can have more sustainable building materials to help us move towards a circular economy. So the picture that's on the lower left is actually a high-rise wood building that's being built in downtown Oakland, like across from our office. So instead of a building being made out of, the structure of it being out of concrete, which is about, with concrete's responsible for about 7% of the greenhouse gas emissions in the world. It's a very intensive product to make. We're looking at how we can make more structural buildings out of wood, because it's a lot more environmentally friendly. So how did I get here? I went to my weird technical high school where I had to learn Russian. I thought that I was interested in kind of building trades potentially going into high school, and it was a really unique opportunity to take some like architecture and engineering classes at a young age. And so from there, I applied to a whole bunch of architecture programs and liberal arts schools because I wasn't sure yet if I wanted to be an architect. Like I said, I was really passionate about like the environment I grew up in, the kind of buildings around me. I grew up in a kind of an older neighborhood and saw a lot of these historic homes being kind of torn down, had a lot of questions about that. Again, grew up in a place where At one point, Staten Island had like the largest, landfill in the United States, and seeing those impacts on my surrounding, and just was really curious about it. And so I kind of backed out after getting, having a few architecture programs I could go to. So with architecture, if that's what you think you want to do, you can still go to like a 4-year school like you would any other school, but there are these kind of specific 5-year architecture programs out there at some schools where you can come out with like sort of the equivalent of a master's degree. Basically, it's a fast track to be able to get your license if you want to be like a practicing architect. So I wanted to have those as options. And then I was like, I don't think I want to do that. So I didn't. And went to a liberal arts school. I went to Brown University and I did architecture there and environmental studies, but again, kind of came out with this more liberal arts degree. I was similar to Tyla said, like take advantage of study abroad programs, take advantage of internships, take advantage of other volunteer things. I spent a lot of time volunteering for Habitat for Humanity and was on the college board for them. And that was so fun because I got to get a lot of like hands-on construction skills and give back to my community. Also, it was a really cheap way for me to travel because I was a college student who didn't have money to go on like fancy spring break trips. But in the picture on the top right, I'm sitting on the roof of a house in Florida that we were building for a week-long spring break build. Maybe not everyone's idea of spring break, but it was a lot of fun. And I got to go to several states and build houses. So as well as build locally in Rhode Island on weekends. And so, yeah, for me, college was like, I like this building stuff, but like, what about it? And so I had internships in kind of typical architecture firms. I worked for a construction company for a summer in San Francisco, wondering if maybe I was interested again in kind of the more hands-on building stuff. I was not doing the construction, but it was more construction management. And then one summer after I came back from studying abroad and just needed a job, wound up on a small island in Rhode Island, working for a very small like nature conservancy nonprofit. So that's us banding an egret baby. So I would like wake up and band birds and comb tide pools and, again, just trying to figure out, I love this stuff, but what do I actually want to do? So I think you can certainly go in thinking you have an idea of college or not at all, and just use it as a place to experiment. And so what did I do after my bunch of kind of random jobs and things that I wasn't sure about? My first job out of school was with the U.S. Green Building Council in Washington, D.C. You may have heard of or seen plaques that say like LEED certified buildings around. That is the nonprofit that developed that rating system. And that was, again, like I tried out these architecture jobs and was like, I don't actually want to be a practicing architect. I'm married to one now, so I actually am really happy with that decision. And so I went to work for this kind of green building policy organization and really liked it. I liked the idea of thinking about, well, what makes buildings green and what makes cities green? And maybe not so much how do I design one myself, but what are the different kind of aspects of them? So there I worked on the materials and resources section of the LEED rating system. And so it was a really good experience. So then that motivated me to then again think bigger than buildings. So I went and got my master's of city planning at UC Berkeley. I concentrated in environmental planning and policy. I did look specifically at different types of schools than the one I went to for undergrad. So kind of bigger research universities. Also, being completely honest, is a state school. It was a lot more affordable than private schools, especially, after a year, if you're over 24, after a year, you can establish residency. So I also was able to get in-state tuition my second year. And so I, again, kind of wanted to get some of these real world skills. I really enjoyed taking classes that took us in the field. So some of these photos are from, I took a class on California water. So this is the reservoir where our water in Oakland comes from. We had an environmental studio where we were working on native plant restoration at a Native American reservation in Arizona. And so anyway, we just got to get out there and really think about real world problems, which I thought was pretty cool. I won't go into too much of depth about this, but again, just trying things out. I kind of finished with this degree in planning. And so then I went and was a planner at a few different places where then I was like, I'd worked on some environmental stuff, but just was like, how do I actually get a job where I'm working full time on climate and sustainability? I wanted to do this. I went to school to do it. And suddenly I'm reviewing people's plans for home renovations or looking at new parks in San Francisco, and all that was really interesting, but it wasn't necessarily what I wanted to do long term. But gave me a lot of good work experience. And so on that note, I guess when I think about how I wound up at StopWaste and where I am now, it sounds really cheesy perhaps, but if you're really passionate about something, then follow that, I guess, and make it work. I loved all aspects of it. This is another build we did after Hurricane Katrina when I was down in Mississippi with Habitat for Humanity for a week. This again, I really liked making stuff, and I have since I was a little kid. My favorite part of architecture school was building models. And so there was something there. And like I said, it took me a really long time to figure out what it was that I was good at and that I wanted to make a career of it. But you want to do something that you like. And then actually similar to what Tyla said, get to know people. And I don't want to say networking. That's why I didn't use that term. Networking is important and has a place, but I've learned a lot from my colleagues, from the people I've gone to school with. And, then mentors certainly have a place and have for me. I've had, this is my advisor who, when I was in the environmental studies department at Brown, was able to, write recommendations letters for me for grad school, even 3 years after I finished undergrad, because I would ask him questions and talk with him about career things. And so I've had some of those people in my life where they've been really just valuable in a way that I can't really explain. But like I said, friends are that way too, or colleagues or people your own age are that way too. And so just the more people you get to know, it can also help you figure out what you want to do, even if you're not looking at people who maybe are, 10 years advanced in their career. And so the other thing about getting work experience and internships, two things. One is just apply to things. You can always say no. And if you get an interview, it's really good practice. And so if you think you might want it, I would apply. And then similar, this be okay with jobs that aren't your dream. So I consider StopWaste kind of my dream job. And it took me, like I said, a while to get there. And each of those experiences led up to this. And so explore your options. Even if you think you get your dream job, you may get it and then be like, oh, this is actually not my dream job anymore. And so, learn from them as much as you can, and you can always apply those sorts of things to the next job that you apply to. But know your worth. If you're really miserable at a job, it is okay to leave. And I know you guys have a lot more time to go before you would probably get to that point since you're young. But I think even the same can be said for college experiences. You always want to be happy with what you're doing, and that really is always the most important thing. And I've had similar experiences as well, where I've applied for jobs. My current job, actually, I applied for a job 2 years ago at StopWaste that I didn't get. And they were like, we'll put you on our hiring list. And then they called me a year later and were like, we have a job for you. So again, if there's even an agency or a company you might really like to work for, and it's not your perfect job, but it's a job there, it can really help get your foot in the door. So again, not going to read this, but even though my education is in architecture and planning, I've had a lot of different jobs and different career paths. And these are all kind of in the building industry for the most part, but there are at our agency, there are accountants, there's, lawyers, there's many, places in environmental jobs, if this is something you're passionate about. And I heard someone yesterday on a workforce panel say that, eventually every job is going to be a climate job, because it's just, we're in a climate emergency and climate change is affecting us every single day. And so in pretty much any profession you can go into nowadays, there is a climate aspect that you can get yourself into with it. I think these resources were shared, so I won't go into depth on them because I think I'm also way over time. Okay. But there are some really great opportunities out there, whether they're these kind of summer programs that you can try out. UC Berkeley and California College of the Arts in San Francisco both have programs for high schoolers, but also for people currently in bachelor's programs or recent graduates. Civic Spark and Climate Corps are both great climate fellowships. They kind of place you with an organization. For Civic Spark, I think they're all local government. Climate Corps does have some private sector ones, I think, and nonprofit. And I will say a lot of the Civic Spark and Climate Corps fellows have gotten hired in sort of sustainability jobs locally. So it's a really great learning opportunity. At StopWaste, we have a schools program where you can learn about a whole bunch of resources for your own school. And we also have a StopWaste ambassador program where you can kind of go through that and kind of learn even more about it. And then I also put stuff up there about building trades. We're at a point in the kind of building decarbonization space, the fancy word again for like kind of getting off of fossil fuels, where we need so many more people in the building trades, to be electricians who know how to install these high efficiency equipment, and they're really good jobs. And so I think again in this that not everyone's path looks the same. If you do really like the kind of hands-on aspect, there's so many great local building trades programs as well. Like Laney College has a whole bunch of them, so you can look into those also. And that's it.
Thank you so much, Emily. That was a really inspirational presentation. We will now conclude the program with some time where you guys, the audience, can submit questions using the Q&A function on the bottom of your screens. Please indicate whether your question is directed to Tyla, Emily, or both panelists. And Rachel, once the questions start coming, you can go ahead and start us off.
Yay, it's Q&A time. Okay, so just like Rohan said, go ahead and put it in the Q&A section at the bottom of your screen. And we'll answer any and all questions that you guys might have. Oh, I think we got one. This is for Emily. Does StopWaste take Climate Corps fellows?
We have had Climate Corps fellows. I think the current application is probably open or just closing in terms of people applying for, like, wanting to be a fellow, because I think they usually start in like August or September. So it could be happening now. Sorry if it's closed for this year already. So we're not going to have one this year, but we have had a few. So it kind of depends on what we're doing and what our kind of capacity is like at the time. So when you apply for one of the fellowships, it'll kind of give you a list of the different cities or organizations that are looking for fellows. And then you kind of rank which ones you're interested in. So when you go through the application process, you'll know which organizations are looking for fellows. And it could be us in the future, but not this year.
Thank you for that answer, Emily. Just a reminder that we have the Q&A function. If anyone else has a question directed to either of our panelists, feel free to send that in.
Or you can add your question in the chat.
Yes.
Yes, while we're waiting for some more questions, Tyla, can you please explain that commercial with Nickelodeon?
I knew this was going to come back up. Yeah, in the 6th grade, some producers came to my middle school and they did auditions. I didn't even get my parents' permission. I just went. It was like after school. And I got picked out of, also other of my classmates. They cut most of my commercial. My line was, and I'm from Oakland, California. Yeah.
Sounds good. Thank you so much, Tyla. Okay, we have a question, I think, for both of our panelists from Marcia. How do you guys work with people who are not passionate like you, such as political leaders who are opposed to climate change? Okay, who wants to start us off?
I can start. That is a very good question, Marcia. I think Actually, that this happened recently at one of our council meetings where we received a lot of opposition and because of misinformation that happens. So I think the most important part, especially from a public affairs focus, is to educate, educate, educate. So as much as possible, in whatever ways that we can, informing the public and educating the public and fighting misinformation as much as possible about renewables, about climate change. You're not going to change everyone's mind, but by just putting that information out there, you know, you're able to like combat the misinformation that's out there. In terms of working with the politicians, because that is very much a part of our job on the public affairs team, I think it just takes one, not personalizing things, knowing that, you know, it has something to do with you. Everyone's not going to be passionate, but we do need to have everybody on board. So thinking about the folks who you do have on board, who you do have on your team, we have, again, over 100 organizations that we work with that are passionate about it, that are fighting on the front lines with people in the community. So always having that in the back of my mind and depersonalizing anyone who, you know, depersonalizing any of the misinformation, I think is one of the ways that, you know, kind of personally I can work with others who might not have the same perspective as me.
Yeah, a similar answer. So it's a lot of our work is focused on education. We do a lot of public workshops. You know, I think it's unfortunate that certain things like transitioning homes off of fossil fuels has become really politicized, but that's the world that we are working in. So, you know, there's been this kind of perhaps, you know, outrage a little bit that's like, we're banning your gas stoves. And it's like, well, one, no, we're not. And two, at least not yet. And we won't be for a long time. But people think we are doing that right now. And it's like, okay, well, we're not. And also then, well, how do we teach people that this other stuff that is like super top of the line and not necessarily like, I mean, by expensive, but it's just crazy the technology like that an induction stove has, and people think they're inferior, but in reality, they have like, they're just such a great experience to like cook on. And we partner with a lot of like local chefs, for example, to like get people excited about it or do cooking demos, including things like when people are concerned about certain cultural dishes, like, can I cook on a wok on an induction stove? You know, we'll work with chefs from those communities and cook that kind of food and just kind of bridge those gaps as best as we can. And so the other thing I would say is that almost kind of like I said about how like in the future, every job is a climate job, like climate change is affecting so many aspects of our lives that even if somebody is a climate change denier, you can talk to them about wildfire smoke, or you can talk with them about gas prices, or you can talk with them about, you know, comfort in their home and utility bills and other things. So, I mean, so much of it really is about connecting to people and figuring out what they actually do care about, and then how we can kind of connect with them on that point. And so I think that that's just another important aspect when you're trying to do this kind of work, is figure out what people do care about, if it's not just the environmental side of it, and tap into that.
Thank you, guys. Okay, our next question is for Emily. I'd love to hear about more of the other types of roles in your organization that are related to sustainability. What other programs do your colleagues work on?
Oh man, so we're like a 45-person organization. Our built environment and energy team is only 6 people, so there's many other programs. I would say a lot of our colleagues work on waste. People always assume I work on it too, since our name is StopWaste. But so in those sorts of programs, we have a lot of people that are working on various types of reusable or waste reduction or waste diversion projects. So that can range from in Alameda County, we have like a reusable bag ordinance. So you're not supposed to be able to get plastic bags at a grocery store. You have to charge for paper bags. we enforce that. So we have people that will actually go in and do inspections for various kind of like stores. In Alameda County, all businesses are supposed to have kind of compost and recycling services. So we have a team that will work with like small restaurants to figure out how they can, compost in their area. We have a food waste team that works with like local food banks and food rescue organizations, as well as does a lot of public promotion on kind of tips for reducing waste of food at home, or how to make food last longer, and a lot of other things. So, but a lot of our agency is still very much focused on kind of solid waste and waste diversion. And it's still kind of education and programming, like my work is, but on like waste and recycling, and a lot of focus on composting and food.
Thank you so much. Our next questions are to both of our panelists from Larissa, and it is for Emily, what did you study in your internship? And for Tyla, what do you do as an advisor in schools? Yeah, take it away.
For internships during undergrad, I worked for a general contracting company. I worked, I guess, for 3 years. One was for an architectural lighting designer in New York City. That one I actually had gotten paired up with in high school through an architecture mentorship program that I did. And so kind of went back to them when I was looking for my first job or internship during undergrad. The general contractor I met at a career fair at my school, and they were recruiting interns. So go to career fairs if your school has them. And then, like I said, the last one was the kind of nature conservancy one, and that was just from our environmental studies department newsletter. So, so those are 3 different ways, I guess, I found out about internships. And then during grad school, I was an intern for the San Francisco Recreation and Parks Department. And that was just through the city of San Francisco has an internship program like many cities do. And so they have like a whole bunch of different internships in different city departments that you can apply for through their website.
Awesome. And I think my question was, what did I advise when I was a college and career advisor? I worked at 2 high schools in San Francisco. And what I did was help students apply for college and help them with their financial aid. So a lot of that was like one-on-one, but also like classroom presentations. I actually have a funny story where one class started to hate me because their teacher decided to give them extra credit if they came to me. So people weren't happy about that. But yeah, so usually like classroom presentations are one-on-one, and then also a lot of like workshops like this at nighttime. We also partner with the library to help people like with their financial aid. So that was a really exciting time. I loved working with students, loved working with different communities who didn't really know anything about the process similar to myself, and was able to help people kind of avoid all the mistakes that I made. Thanks for asking that question.
Well, thank you guys. And we have one more question for both of you. So this is Katie. She just graduated college recently and is getting discouraged by the post-graduation job search. Do either of you have any advice specific to recent grads about how to successfully find work centered around sustainability? Emily, would you like to go first?
Sure. It can be really tough to kind of find that first job. I guess I would say there's a few different kind of, as I was saying before, sustainability is a really broad term. So I think kind of narrow it down a little bit to either the sector that you think you might want to work in, or whether it's like kind of construction, renewable energy, waste management, landscaping. Like I said, there's a lot of different things. And so, or if that's even still really wide open, then I would think about, again, like what you really love doing. Do you really have that like technical background? Do you want to do kind of outreach and education? Are you a graphics person? Because again, all these companies have kind of communications and media people too. So those can be kind of two ways to kind of try and focus your search a little bit, since sustainability can be really broad. And again, most of my resources are more on the kind of architecture and built environment world, but there are some really good job boards out there that I guess I can also send those links to Eliana, to kind of the ones I tend to share with people, and where there's some great job postings in sustainability, but again, more on the kind of building side. And I guess as someone who now hires people, my last kind of bit of advice, and we're like hiring now, I have interviews next week, so it's very much on top of my mind. Like cover letters are really important. And I think especially if you don't have maybe a ton of stuff on your resume, because it's your chance to really talk about why you want a job and what you think you're good at. And that's where you can also say, like, you know, you took a class on this, or you've done that in an internship, or even if you worked in like a retail job, like what is it that you learned or a skill that you have that is relevant to the job you're applying for? And you know, because I will say, when we look through the cover letters and they're just like, I like this job, please hire me. Like, we don't, you know, like those are not as good as the ones that are like, oh, tell me about themselves and why they care about the job. So use that as an opportunity as best you can, even if you don't necessarily have like a ton of stuff on your resume yet.
+1 to everything Emily said. I, especially the cover letter, but especially the resume piece. I currently have an intern, so MCE does have internships. And I just hired a Climate Corps fellow, Emily. And so one of the things that I have seen on resumes is that for recent college grads, you put your education like at the top, and then you list out all of your classes sometimes. So I think, and that's for a lot of jobs, that's not as relevant as your experience, and really talking about the experience. So one of the exercises that my intern did today was going through LinkedIn and picking 10 jobs that he was like interested in, something that like he would love to apply to, even if he doesn't, and really looking at those job descriptions and making sure that his whatever experience that he has, either at MCE, he's also a tutor, so some of his tutoring experience, that he's using kind of the same language that the job that's in the job posting. Because a lot of times we speak about like our experience, but the recruiter or the hiring manager needs to know like how you fit into their organization, and they'll tell you what they need based on that job description, that job posting. So I think really work on that resume. If your college has, you know, a post-grad team, like a college advisor, a career advisor, usually they have a career advisor, like really utilizing those services to help with your resume. And like Emily said, like looking at those job boards. And I think Emily and I, we didn't even see each other's presentations before, and it was interesting what the career advice was, but one of the top career advice that we gave you is that you might not get a sustainability job right away, right? Like always think about what skills do you have. So again, if you are interested in graphic design, if you're interested in, you know, something, a skill, hone in on that skill in whatever job that you can, a job that you can find, that you can tolerate, that you actually like. And then work on building those skills until you get, you know, that dream job that you have. It won't come, sometimes it doesn't come right away. But don't let that discourage you, because always look at, you know, the job that you have currently as like, I'm building my skills so that I can get to the next step. So I empathize with you. I've been on the job market during COVID. I was in the job market for about a year. So I really empathize. I know that like, that's really tough. So I really wish you luck in your job search.
Thank you guys so much for your answers. Currently we don't have any open questions, but feel free to drop any questions. We're still looking to take any.
I have a question. What has been something that has been tough for you in the workforce that in in your jobs in sustainability, and like how did you overcome that?
I can speak to that first. As someone who, my first 3 jobs weren't in sustainability, and getting this role, it was a huge learning curve for me, especially on the renewable energy side. There are a lot of acronyms that energy folks use. There's a lot of just concepts, like a bunch of concepts that I wasn't familiar with, but I had to speak to really help people. So one of the things that I did was like research, letting people know, like if a customer had a question I didn't know the answer, like I would look it up, and that's one way I learned. But then also leaning on my team. My team is very supportive, have really smart people who know about a lot of things. And so whenever I had a question, I was able to lean on them for that support. So I think one thing I also have learned is that you don't have to know everything. You just need to know the person who does know, or you need to, that is enough. And so, yeah, that was definitely tough, especially in my first year. And there are still times where, I don't know the answer. But it's really fun to learn something new and to be able to help others who know a lot less than I do, especially our customers.
Yeah, it's a good question. I think one that comes to mind is, and I think it's something that happens a lot to women and people of color, is just people doubting your credentials or if you're good at your job. And I think that happens across any job. I'm 34 and because I've been working in this for a while. And even just like a month or 2 ago, I had a guy who I was talking to on the phone. He was asking questions about like a heat pump for his home. It's a type of high efficient like heating and cooling system. And I was answering all of his questions. And at the very end of our phone call, he was like, "You sound really young." And I looked up your I'm looking at your pictures. He must have Googled me. And he's like, "And you look really young. Like, what is your background and your education?" And I was just like, excuse me. So and I've had colleagues like that also. I had someone in the planning consulting firm I work for, when a person who worked at one of the cities we were working for requested like a more experienced person to be on the project. And she was again like a woman in her early 30s who'd been doing this work for a while. So I think that it's definitely like something that can get frustrating. And again, can be something that happens in any job. And it's a shame that that is the like society and culture we still live in. But just, I think that's also where having like a good support network comes in too, is to just be able to be like, "Oh, I can't believe this happened," and have people be like, just be able to share those kinds of stories and know that you are like, not let it like get to you and knock your confidence, which is really hard. And so I hope that as like the people who are now in high school are going into these fields, they'll have to deal with that stuff less and less, but it may happen early in your career and even like midway into your career. And it's not a reflection on you and your value.
Thank you guys. Thank both of you. We have another question. Do you have any favorite websites or other resources to look for internships besides LinkedIn, obviously?
I would say another site that I don't think we've talked about is Idealist. I use that a lot, especially in college and after college, to look for like nonprofit, I like to call feel good jobs. And they also have volunteer opportunities there as well. So definitely recommend Idealist. And I'm gonna say again, your college, if you're in college, that of the advising team, whatever advising department is at your college, a lot of times they'll have internships, fellowships. And if people get to know you and know what your interests are, you'll start to see that folks will send you things when they see, any opportunities that you might be interested in. So getting to know people, even if you're not looking for an internship at the time, just getting to know people, letting them understand who you are, what your interests are, you'll start to see some of those things coming in because they'll think about you when they see things pop up.
Yeah, if you're interested in local government, a really good one is called CalOps, CALOPPS. I think it's probably .org. Yes, it's the government website, but you can go in there and it's like all government jobs. So you can search by city, by region, by department, years of experience, and you can get like sign up for like notifications, like if a job is posted. So again, if you think you might be interested in anything in local government, I would take a look at that. There's also, if you're interested again in kind of the urban planning field, potentially sustainability or otherwise, there's a really good job board and newsletter by a group called Planetizen. It's like Planet Citizen. So, but I can type that in, I guess, but like PLANETIZEN, and they have a great newsletter, like job board and newsletter also. Those are two off the top of my head, and there's like I said, a few other ones that I'll try and send over to Aliana to share with everyone.
I have another question about networking. So how do you, like when you're starting network, how do you overcome the feeling of like bugging someone to like mentor you or just like talk to you or, send you stuff? Like how would you advise for that?
This is where, again, I think talk to people. If you have even like your parents' friends, older siblings, friends, I get emails sometimes just from friends, that I went to college with, or childhood friends that are like, my friend that I now know who you don't, like is interested in this. Would you talk to them? And so it's always helpful to have that like kind of person to vouch for them, because then even, we get busy. I feel I try and respond to everyone that asks, but if it's coming from like someone I know, then I feel like a little bit more responsibility to like reply faster. So again, that's where like just talking to people in your circle is a really great tool. Then, there are some kind of local conferences or day, like kind of forums that you can go to that will have reduced price or free prices for students. So I actually just spent the past 2 days at the California Climate and Energy Collaborative Forum, which was in Santa Rosa. And they had like mentorship program, and I think either a free rate or like a $50 rate for students. And so there were a bunch of kind of college students there, and they had a mentorship lunch where they kind of paired you with someone to talk to. And so I did that and was paired with like a recent, master's student who I got to talk to and exchange information with. So you can just kind of take a look for what kind of opportunities there are where people are volunteering to be a mentor is a good place to start. But then again, just, and if like an aunt and uncle has someone who they know that might work in this, just talk to that person.
I agree. I totally agree. And on the fear aspect, I think being on the other side where now I'm a mentor and have to advise people, you usually are not bugging folks. People are usually want to help you. And even you, I'm sure that if someone wanted help or needed support from you for something that you can assist them in, you wouldn't just shrug them off. So I think a lot of times that is our own internal insecurity of like, oh, I'm bugging someone, or, they're not going to want to help me, or they're busy. Usually sending that email, people are more than willing to help and excited to help.
CCC team, do you have any questions for our panelists? Attendees, now's a good time to get your final questions in. We're gonna start wrapping up.
I do have a question for both of you. I'm a high school senior. I'm going to be looking at colleges very, very soon. How did you guys know that when you went to college, that was the right fit for you? You both had very different college stories. Can you elaborate on those a little bit? Tyla, would you like to go first?
Sure. I didn't have the right fit. I moved around a little bit, but the first school that I went to was Xavier University. It's a historically Black college in Louisiana. And for me, I wanted to, being from the Bay Area, our Bay Area is super diverse, very cultural. So I had that experience, and I kind of wanted to experience what it was like to be on a campus with Black women and men who were also interested in, furthering their education. So at that time, that felt like the right fit for me. I don't regret that experience at all. I loved it. And then I knew when I transferred to San Francisco State, where I eventually graduated, when I went to Merit, I learned a lot about the activist strikes in the 60s at UC Berkeley and at San Francisco State. I was super drawn to like ethnic studies and just wanted to be a part of that world, and wanted to, be a part, what I felt was a part of a legacy of, activism in the Bay Area. So that was kind of what that fit was for me. And to be honest, on a very practical level, and I think Emily said this, it was a state school that was very cheap. And so also thinking practically, like I was able to get my degree with little debt, and that was important for me.
Yeah, it's tough. I think I did not get into my like first choice school. And I have like a lot of friends who have said like kind of similar things. And then you look back and you're like, oh man, like, I wouldn't have imagined sometimes like what my life would be like if I went to the place I thought I like really wanted to go to. And I used to do college interviews for students who were applying to Brown until the pandemic hit, and then they stopped doing them. And again, I don't think anyone at the time like probably took me seriously, but I felt like it was important to say anyway, is similarly, like if you don't get into your top choice school, you're probably going to feel really disappointed, but that like, it's okay. And like, you will find what's right for you. And because I know you can feel, it feels like so disappointing. And you feel like really down about yourself. And that's just not, it's not a reflection of you. Again, like the college admissions process is super weird and really competitive, and like life will work itself out. But I think for me, I similar was like kind of a feeling. I knew I wanted to go to like a school in a city and have a campus, but also like not be in the middle of nowhere, and wanted to like go a little further from home. I mean, I was about 4 hours away, so not like terribly far. And I had an older brother, so I kind of got to see where he went, and I did not want to go where he did. He went to like a rural school with like a huge fraternity life, and I also very much knew that that was like not me. I didn't want to be in a sorority. I didn't want like social life around campus to revolve around like kind of fraternities and sororities. So you can actually look at like the percentage of school like people in Greek life, and so I chose schools that had like lower ones. So but then it was like I was just on campus and just it felt right. I don't know. Like so it's hard to tell, but it definitely was kind of like a vibe thing, as well as like looking at the options I had in front of me and which one felt like a place I wanted to spend 4 years. Sometimes more than like the academic part of it. Like I said, for me, it was, I had a choice of kind of 2 schools that were 5-year architecture programs and 2 schools that weren't. And that was a deciding factor for me in the end. But I don't know. I mean, I think like with Tyla, like sometimes what you think you want isn't the right thing, and you'll love what you choose, or you'll make a different choice.
Can I just say, I love that you looked at which schools have Greek for like as many. You said, nope, nope, nope.
Thank you guys so much. It was very helpful. If we don't have any more Q&A coming up, like last minute Q&A, 3, 2, 1. Okay. We can move on now to wrapping up the lovely Climate Careers chat. If you guys are interested in following us, give us a follow. These are some of the organizations that they mentioned earlier that they both work with. So give them a follow too. And if you're interested in learning more about what we do here and anything the panelists have talked about, we have a link tree with all of the information we discussed.
That will totally be sent out with the follow-up email.
Oh yeah. So pay attention for those follow-up emails. They have a lot of information that you are gonna want. And last but not least, thank you, Mia. She is our Climate Careers Chat intern. This is her last Climate Careers Chat being the intern, and she's been an amazing intern putting all this together. Round of applause for her. And now I'll hand it off to Rohan to wrap us up.
Yes, thank you so much to everyone who joined and listened. And again, a huge thank you for both of our panelists for sharing a window into their lives. If you guys are interested in Sustainable Contra Costa County Libraries, or anything related to the panelists, you can find that information on the socials we put up, and the email we'll send out in a little bit. Also, if you want to learn more about SLIA, you can go to the link tree in our bio on our Instagram. Thank you so much to my co-moderator, Rachel, as well as Mia. Yes, she was unable to be here with us today, but she truly is an amazing intern who has planned out many of these Climate Careers chats.
Yeah, just to add on to that, I want to thank everyone who registered, attended, especially Emily and Tyla. I loved hearing about your experiences, and this is just such a great part of the Climate Careers Chat. Definitely part of making the future you want to see. So I just love that so much. Albert, thank you as always for your partnership with the library. We love working with the library, and yes, you are the best. And then before we go, I want to thank all of the SLIA members who worked on the Climate Careers Chat from the beginning to now. So thank you to Abigail, Nina, Prithika, Stacy, Samriti, Karina, Allison, Rohan, and Rachel. And also just a final thank you to Mia, who's been our intern for the last 2 years, and wishing her the best. So thank you everyone so much for coming, and we have another Climate Careers Chat in September. So hopefully we'll see you there.